So are you to my thoughts as food to life, or as sweet seasoned showers are to the ground. And for the peace of you I hold such strife as twixt and measure, and his wealth is found. Now proud as a enjoyer, and Anon, debating to the flinching age will steal his treasure, now counting best to be with you alone, then bettered that the world may see my pleasure. Sometimes all fill with feasting on your sight, and by, clean starved for a look, posing for pursuing no delight, save what is had or must from you be took. Thus do I pin and surfeit day, by day, or gluttoning on all or all away.
Hello, my name is Christina Kloss, and this is sonnet number 76. Why is my verse so barren of new pride, so far from variation or quick change? Why with the time do I not glance aside to new-found methods and to compounds strange? Why write I still all one, ever the same, and keep invention in a noted weed that every word doth almost tell my name, showing their birth and where they did proceed? Know, sweet love, that I always write of you, and you and love are still my argument. So, all my best is dressing old words new, spending again what is already spent. For as the sun is daily new and old, so is my love still telling what is told.
Shakespearean Sonnet 77. Thy glass will show thee how thy beauties wear, thy dial how thy precious minutes waste. The vacant leaves thy mind's imprints will bear, and of this book this learning mayest thou taste. The wrinkles which thy glass will truly show, of mouthed graves will give thee memory. Thou by the dial's shady stealth mayest know time's thievish progress to eternity. Look, what thy memory cannot contain, commit to these waste blanks, and thou shalt find those children nursed, delivered from thy brain, to take new acquaintance of thy mind. These offices, so oft as thou wilt look, shall profit thee and much enrich thy book.
Sonnet 78. So oft have I invoked thee for my muse, and found such fair assistance in my verse, as every alien pen hath you got my use, and under thee their poesy disperse. Thine eyes that taught the dumb as dumb on high to sing, and heavy ignorance aloft to fly, have added feathers to the learned's wing, and given grace a double majesty. Yet be most proud of that which I compile, whose influence in thine and born of thee. In others' works thou dost but mend the style, and arts with thy sweet graces graced be. But thou art all my art, and dost advance as high as learning my rude ignorance.
whilst I alone did call upon thy aid. My verse alone had all thy gentle grace. But now my gracious numbers are decayed, and my sick muse doth give an other place. I grant, sweet love, thy lovely argument deserves the travail of a worthier pen. Yet what of thee thy poet doth invent, he robs thee of, and pays it thee again. He lends thee virtue, and he stole that word from thy behaviour. Beauty doth he give, and found it in thy cheek. He can afford no praise to thee, but what in thee doth live. Then thank him not for that which that he doth say, since what he owes thee, thyself dost pay.
A horse! A horse! My kingdom for a horse!
Sonnet 80. Oh, how I faint when I of you do write, knowing a better spirit doth use your name, and in the praise thereof spends all his might, to make me tongue-tied, speaking of your fame. But since your worth wide as the ocean is, the humble as the proudest sail doth bear, my saucy bark, inferior far to his, on your broad main doth wilfully appear. Your shallowest help will hold me up afloat, whilst he upon your soundless deep doth ride, or, being wracked, I am a worthless boat, he of tall building and of goodly pride. Then, if he thrive and I be cast away, the worst was this, my love was my decay.
Go ahead.
I'm Justin Jurdak from Recycled Shakespeare Company in Waterville, Maine, and I'll be reading Sonnets 81. Or I shall live your epitaph to make, or you survive when I in earth am rotten. From hence your memory death cannot take, although in me each part will be forgotten. Your name from hence immortal life shall have, though I, once gone, to all the world must die. The earth can yield me but a common grave. When you entombed in men's eyes shall lie, your monument shall be my gentle verse, which eyes not yet created shall overread, and tongues to be your being shall rehearse. When all the breathers of this world are dead, you still shall live. Such virtue hath my pen, when breath most breathes, even in the mouths of men.
Sonnet 82. I grant thou wert not married to my muse, and therefore mayest without attain, or look, but dedicated words which writers use, of their fair subject, blessing every book. Thou art as fair in knowledge as in hue, finding thy worth a limit past my praise, and therefore art enforced to seek anew some fresher stamp of the time-bettering days. And do so, love, yet when they have devised what strange touches rhetoric can lend, thou, truly fair, wert truly sympathized, in true plain words, by thy true telling friend, and their gross paintings might be better used, were cheeks need blood. In thee it is abused.
Sonnet 83. I never saw that you did painting need, and therefore to your fair no painting set. I found, or thought I found, you did exceed the barren tender of a poet's debt. And therefore have I slept in your report, that you yourself, being extant, well might show how far a modern quill doth come too short, speaking of worth, what worth in you doth grow. This silence for my sin you did impute, which shall be most my glory being dumb, for I impair not beauty being mute, when others would give life and bring a tomb. There lives more life in one of your fair eyes than both your poets can in praise devise.
Go ahead.
I'm Justin Jurdak from the Recycled Shakespeare Company in Waterville, Maine, and I am reading Sonnets 84. Who is it that says most, which can say more, than this which praise that you alone are you, in whose confine immured is the store, which should example where your equal grew? Lean penury within that pen doth dwell, that to his subject lends not some small glory, but he that writes of you, if he can tell that you are you, so dignifies his story. Let him but copy what in you is writ, not making worse what nature made so clear, and such a counterpart shall feign his wit, making his style admired everywhere. You to your beauteous blessings add a curse, being fond on praise, which makes your praises worse. Thank you.
Sonnet 85. My tongue-tied muse in manners holds her still, while comments of your praise richly compiled reserve their character with golden quill, and precious phrase by all muses filled. I think good thoughts while others write good words, and like unlettered clerks still cry Amen to every hymn that able spirit affords in polished form of well refined pen. Hearing you praised, I say, 'Tis so, 'tis true, and to the most of praise add something more, but that this is my thought, whose love to you the words come hindmost, holds his rank before. Then others for the breath of words respect, me for my dumb thoughts speaking in effect.
Sonnet 86. Was it the proud full sail of his great verse, bound for the prize of all too precious you, that did my ripe thoughts in my brain in hearse, making their tomb, their womb wherein they grew? Was it his spirit, by spirits taught to write above a mortal pitch, that struck me dead? No, neither he nor his compeers by night giving him aid, my verse astonished. He nor that affable familiar ghost which nightly gulls him with intelligence. As victors of my silence cannot boast, I was not sick of any fear from thence. But when your countenance filled up his line, then lacked I matter, that enfeebled mine.
Shakespearean Sonnet 87. Farewell, thou art too dear for my possessing, and like enough thou knowest thy estimate. The charter of thy worth give thee releasing. My bonds in thee are all determinate. For how do I hold thee but by thy granting? And for that riches where is my deserving? The cause of this fair gift in me is wanting, and so my patent back again is swerving. Thyself thou gavest, thy own worth then not knowing, or me, to whom thou gavest it, else mistaken. So thy great gift, upon misprison growing, comes home again, on better judgments making. Thus I have had thee, as a dream doth flatter, and sleep a king, but waken no such matter.
Sonnet 88. When thou shalt be disposed to set me light, and place my merit in the eye of scorn, upon thy side against myself I'll fight, and prove thee virtuous though thou art forsworn. With mine own weakness being best acquainted, upon thy part I can set down a story of faults concealed, wherein I am attainted, that thou in losing me shalt win much glory, and I by this will be a gainer too, for bending all my loving thoughts on thee, the injuries that to myself I do, doing thee vantage, double vantage me. Such is my love, to thee I so belong, that for thy right myself will bear all wrong.
Sonnet 89. Say that thou didst forsake me for some fault, and I will comment upon that offense. Speak of my lameness, and I straight will halt. Against thy reasons make no defence. Thou canst not love, disgrace me half so ill, to set a form upon desired change, as I'll myself disgrace, knowing thy will. I will acquaintance strangle and look strange, be absent from thy walks, and in my tongue thy sweet beloved name no more shall dwell. Lest I too much profane should do it wrong, and haply of our old acquaintance tell. For thee, against myself I'll vow debate, for I must ne'er love him whom thou dost hate.
The Ousselcock Song from A Midsummer Night's Dream. The Ousselcock, so black of hue, with orange tawny bill, the throstle with his notes so true, the wren with little quill, the finch, the sparrow, and the lark, the plain song cuckoo grey, whose notes so many a man doth mark, and dares not answer nay.
Sonnet 90. Then hate me when thou wilt, if ever now. Now, while the world is bent my deeds to cross, join with the spite of fortune, make me bow, and do not drop in for an after loss. Ah, do not, when my heart hath scaped this sorrow. Come in the rearward of a conquered woe, give not a windy night a rainy morrow, to linger out a purposed overthrow. If thou wilt leave me, do not leave me last, when other petty griefs have done their spite, but on the outset come, so I shall taste at first the very worst of fortune's might, and other strains of woe, which now seem woe, compared with loss of thee, will not seem so.
Sonnet 91. Some glory in their birth, some in their skill, some in their words, and some in their body's force, some in their garments, though new-fangled ill, some in their hawks and hounds, some in their horses, and every humour hath its adjunct pleasure, wherein it finds a joy above the rest. But these particulars are not my measure. All these I better in one general best. Thy love is better than high birth for me, richer than wealth, prouder than garments cost, of more delight than hawks or hounds or horses be, and having thee, of all men's pride I boast. Wretched in this alone, that thou mayest take all this away, and me most wretched make.
Sonnet 92. But do thy worst to steal thyself away, for term of life thou art assured mine, and life no longer than thy love will stay, for it depends upon that love of thine. Then need I not fear the worst of wrongs, when in the least of them my life hath end. I see a better state to me belongs than that which on thy humour doth depend. Thou canst not vex me with inconstant mind, since that my life on thy revolt doth lie. Oh, What happy title do I find? Happy to have thy love, happy to die. But what's so blessed fair that fears no blot? Thou mayst be false, and yet I know it not.
Sonnet 93. So shall I live, supposing thou art true, like a deceived husband. So love's face may still seem love to me, though altered new. Thy looks with me, thy heart another place. For there can live no hatred in thine eye, therefore in that I cannot know thy change. In many's looks the false heart's history is written moods and frowns and wrinkles strange. But heaven in thy creation did decree that in thy face sweet love should ever dwell. Whate'er thy thoughts or thy heart's workings be, thy looks should nothing thence but sweetness tell. How like Eve's apple doth thy beauty grow, if thy sweet virtue answer not thy show. Sonnet 94. They that have power to hurt and will do none, that do not do the thing they most do show, who moving others are themselves a stone, unmoved, cold, and to temptation slow. They rightly do inherit heaven's graces, and husband nature's riches from expense. They are the lords and owners of their faces, others but stewards of their excellence. The summer's flower is to the summer sweet, though to itself it only live and die. But if that flower with beast infection meet, the basest weed outbraves his dignity. For sweetest things turn sourest by their deeds. Lilies that fester smell far worse than weeds.
Go ahead.
I'm Justin Jurdak with the Recycled Shakespeare Company from Waterville, Maine, and I'll be reading Sonnet 95. How sweet and lovely dost thou make the shame, which, like a canker in the fragrant rose, doth spot the beauty of thy budding name. Oh, in what sweets dost thou thy sins enclose! That tongue that tells the story of thy days, making lascivious comments on thy sport, cannot depraise, but in a kind of phrase, naming thy name blesses an ill report. Oh, what a mansion have those vices got, which for their habitation shows out thee, where beauty's veil doth cover every blot, and all things turns to fair that eyes can see. Take heed, dear heart, of this large privilege. The hardest knife ill used doth lose his edge.
Sonnet 96. Some say thy fault is youth, some wantonness. Some say thy grace is youth and gentle sport. Both grace and faults are loved of more and less. Thou makest faults grace, that to thee resort. As on the finger of a throned queen, the basest jewel will be well esteemed. So are those errors that in thee are seen, to truth translated and for true things deemed. How many lambs might the stern wolf betray, if like a lamb he could his looks translate? How many gazers mightest thou lead away, if thou wouldst use the strength of all thy state? But do not so. I love thee in such sort, as thou being mine, mine is thy good report.
Sonnet 97. How like a winter hath my absence been from thee, the pleasure of the fleeting year! What freezing have I felt, what dark days seen, what old December bareness everywhere! And yet this time removed was summer's time, the teeming autumn, big with rich increase, bearing the wanton burthen of the prime. Like widowed womb after their lord's decease, yet this abundant issue seemed to me but hope for orphans and unfathered fruit. The summer and his pleasures wait on thee, and thou away, the very birds are mute, or if they sing, 'tis so with so dull a cheer that leaves look pale, dreading the winter's near.
This is sonnet number 98. From you have I been absent in the spring, when proud-pied April, dressed in all his trim, hath put a spirit of youth in everything. That heavy Saturn laughed and leapt with him, yet nor the lays of birds, nor the sweet smell of different flowers, in odor and in hue, could make me any summers tell, or from thy proud lap pluck them where they grew. Nor did I wonder at the lilies white, nor praise the deep vermilion of the rose. They were but sweet, but figures of delight. Drawn after you, you patterned all of those, yet seemed it winter still, and you away, as with your shadow I with these did play.
Sonnet 99. The forward violet thus did I chide. Sweet thief, whence didst thou steal thy sweet that smells, if not from my love's breath? The purple pride which on thy soft cheek for complexion dwells, in my love's vein thou hast too grossly dyed. The lily I condemned for thy hand, and buds of marjoram had stolen thy hair. The roses fearfully on thorns did stand, one blushing shame, another white despair. A third, nor red nor white, had stolen of both, and to his robbery had annexed thy breath. But for his theft, in pride of all his growth, a vengeful canker eat him up to death. More flowers I noted, yet I none could see, but sweet or colour it had stolen from thee.
Thou, nature, art my goddess, and to thy law my services are bound. Wherefore should I stand in the plague of custom, and permit the curiosity of nations to deprive me, for that I'm some 12 or 14 moonshines like of a brother? Why, bastard, wherefore base, when my dimensions are as well compact, my mind as generous, my shape as true as honest madam's issue? Why brand they me with baseness, bastardy, base? Who in the lusty stealth of nature take more composition and fierce quality than doth within a dull, stale, tired bed go to create a whole tribe of fops got between his sleep and wake. Well then, legitimate Edgar, I must have your lance. Our father's love is to the bastard Edmund as to the legitimate. Fine word, legitimate. Well, my legitimate, if this letter speak, in my invention thrive, Edmund the base shall top the legitimate. I grow, I prosper. Now God stand up for bastards.